I'd only intended to hold her shoulders. I simply wanted to keep Mari-san, who was about to leave, beside me. Mari-san!
Ow.
I simply slipped. Quite a bit, if I do say so myself. It's just that my hands, which were initially supposed to be on her shoulders, had instead hugged her from behind her back before I even realized it. Mari-san, who had not expected my gesture of hugging her from the back, tripped amidst her panic. I can't deny I had no intention to make way for her.
You're kidding, right?
Yes, I'm kidding. Or perhaps it's better to say that it was an accident. I would only need to nervously get a footing, display a pitiable and confused expression, apologize with my head on the ground, and Mari-san would definitely forgive me with a wry smile on her face. And yet, are you going to leave me once again? Are you going to abandon me again?
Kitahara? Kitahara?
Time began to move once again as I spoke my mind. I've been hurting so much, suffering so much, partly because of you, Mari-san. Of all the things I could say, I blurted out the things that I should not have put into words. Words which it would have been a crime in itself to even consider in my mind.
What are you... Why would you suffer because of me?
I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to hear your voice. I wanted to meet you, but you avoided me every single time. I've locked myself into a state of unraveling my disarrayed heart to Mari-san.
That was because I was on a business trip. You should have known that.
I just wanted a little time with you before your flight, or to hear your voice over the phone, or at the very least, the chance to tell you, have a safe trip. But you always came up with the excuse that you were busy. And when I managed to reach you over the phone, you just hung up.
That was... No, listen. That was...
I honestly couldn't fall asleep. All because of that phone call with you, Mari-san.
You're lying.
Yes, I am lying. When I got that phone call from you, you just suddenly hung up, Mari-san. I tried calling you back so many times, but I just couldn't get through.
That was... my phone broke. Besides, the only reason that happened was...
I've been feeling utterly victimized. I've been harboring unreasonable resentment towards her. I was worried you were in trouble. But I don't have anyone else's phone number besides yours, Mari-san. I had to go all the way to the office to get everyone else's number.
You did what?
Mari-san has done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong at all. Suzuki-san told me she had gotten that text from you, but you didn't so much as try to reach me. Left with no other choice, because her phone broke after she hung up, she contacted the only person she could to explain the situation, and said person then relayed it to everyone in the editing department. I'm so glad that you're safe, Mari-san. But when you called me, and then when you wouldn't answer, I just...
That was... I mean, you...
Had I desired it at any cost, I would have managed to contact her. Mari-san, that was awful. Why did you mess around with me?
You're the one who's been awful, who's been messing around with me.
That's right. I'm the one who's been awful. I'd simply fallen into emotional instability as a result of the wild delusions that I'd thought up from the accumulation of a series of unfortunate circumstances. What in the world am I even saying right now? I can't even put my finger on what I'm even thinking about right now. I was scared of coming back to my apartment all alone, too scared of being all alone in my room, terrified of having to sleep there tonight.
Kitahara?
That's why I won't let you go. Don't run away from me, even though I'm fully aware that I'm clearly being insecure, coming across as nonsensical and lacking in integrity, as I do nothing but blame her in my tantrum.
I'm sorry.
Mari-san admits her mistake at last. Mari-san! If she relents, she'll be violated by me, and I know she's well aware of the unthinkable things I will do to her.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Kitahara. I'd only been thinking about myself, and
The irony. I'm the one that's thinking only of myself right now. Mari-san. Seeing the fact that Mari-san has slowly relaxed as a good sign, I lean on her feminine and abundantly curvy back, plastering our bodies together. I embrace her, using both arms, with strength that threatens to snap her spine in two. I bury my face within Mari-san's messy hair, taking in her scent as unknown feelings begin to overflow within me. Her legs stretched from her skirt, entwine with me as I enjoy the smooth and tender sensation of her flesh. Mari-san writhing in discomfort only serves to freely escalate the dark sadism within me. Desire overflows within me to glue my body to her, to touch, take in, and receive everything from her.
Wait a minute, Kitahara.
Brushing aside her hair, her fair neck exposed to me at last, and I immediately lick it, no longer capable of resisting for another moment, scooping up the slight traces of sweat with my tongue on Mari-san's flushed skin. I deliver the taste of a sweetness greater than the port wine she had offered earlier into my mouth.
Don't tell me. No. I don't believe it's possible, but on the off chance that it's true, I have to ask.
I can't see Mari-san's expression due to the fact that I'm pressing against her back like this. However,
have you possibly developed some sort of desire for someone like me?
Possibly isn't the right word to describe it, Mari-san.
You're avoiding the question. You can't give me a half-hearted answer like that.
The instant those words were said, I could clearly see how flushed her ears were. And so they hook up, though Haruki did not ask or receive enthusiastic consent beforehand. But she did seem kinda into it, so I think he just lucked out here. I'm so sorry. I, I'm going to turn myself into the police.
Just calm down, okay?
I'm so sorry.
Wait.
I wouldn't say that my mind is as blank as a sheet right now. What I've done was nothing short of selfish. It was an utter contradiction of the way I've been living up until now. What's more, what's even graver than what I'm feeling right now is the damage I've done to Mari-san. I understand that the fact that I'm running away is just painting an even more disgraceful sin in place of the already deplorable act I've committed. Even so, being incapable of doing anything else, I could only dash out of Mari-san's apartment. After all, Mari-san needs to be far away from a fiend like myself as possible.
Kitahara, I told you to wait. I can't leave you all by yourself right now. I have to get up. I have to go after him. Here, I've added some tepid water to the wine. Let's think of it as us starting over.
It hadn't been 5 minutes since I ran out of the apartment before I got caught by Mari-san again. To explain why, I was confused to the point where I didn't know where to go after I left her apartment. And I was in a state where I couldn't even take a step forward. Forcibly, but gently holding my hand in her current state, Mari-san used the same action as before, taking me back to her own room once again.
I'll go change for a bit. Don't even think about running away, okay?
She never turned around the whole way as she took me back, refusing to let me see her expression. At first, I thought she didn't want me to see her shivering due to anger. The moment I realized the real reason she did so, knowing that she didn't want anyone other than me to see her back at that moment, I could no longer resist my tears. She still had filthy traces of me on her back, and yet she didn't think for a moment to change immediately. And yet she didn't even think for a moment to change, immediately going out of the house just to save me.
Sorry for the wait. All right, you're still here. That's good to know. Well, I'll admit it felt really hot at first, but it really became cold and uncomfortable after going outside. It's not like I'm saying that because it's yours specifically. How about coming a bit closer to the middle? Why don't we talk for a bit?
Mari-san's unbelievable kindness feels excruciating as I huddle myself in the corner of the spacious room, hugging my head.
Perhaps you should take a warm bath first? After all, it was really cold outside. Can't you manage a sentence or two? The fact that you're not saying anything makes things very discomforting.
Please, report me to the police. Please, appeal to charge me for my crime.
As if I could do that. I wouldn't want to steal your future from you.
But I wanted to take you for myself. It's no different than actually successfully doing it.
Even so, there's no point in pressing charges about that.
But why?
It's because I wouldn't win. That's settled.
Now I definitely feel shocked.
After all, I was the one who forcibly dragged you into my room. And I even gave you wine and asked you to stay on top of that. You have that taxi driver as a witness, no?
She's always trusted me all this time. She's always seen me as her cute little apprentice.
Like I had the time to fuss over such an unfavorable complaint anyway. I'm really busy, you know?
It's not the pain of being bitten by a domestic dog. It's a tremendous betrayal piercing countless holes into my physical and mental being.
That, and it's not like we had sex and all. You listened to my requests and endured them, Kirahara. That's why I haven't been raped at all.
Why are you doing such?
I don't want to have a child at the moment. It's because I believe focusing on my work is the most important thing right now.
It's not like that.
I'm the one in the wrong here. Despite knowing that you're emotionally drained, I pushed you out so coldly all of a sudden. It's the same as when I was going overseas.
But why? Is this person still so strong, even at a time like this?
Although, if you allow me an excuse, there's truly a reason behind all this. Though, it's not something I can explain to you right now.
She faces the man who had hurt her, maintaining her unwavering stare with that gentle, refined tone and personality of hers.
It's like I said earlier. Will you forgive me? Even though I've had the better position countless times, I became emotional instead.
Please, just don't forgive me like that. Please, just hate me.
I can't do that. I've put too much effort in carefully raising you up until now. I wanted you to become my successor, Kirahara. No, I still want that even now.
I'm just a part-timer, you know? And as a person, I'm the worst of the worst.
But you can be an official employee next year, you know? If you take things seriously, you're sure to get in. I would bet on it.
It's pointless. It's better for a person like me to just disappear. For the sake of this world, I should just end myself here.
There's nothing pointless about this. I won't let you break down. I won't see you ending things like this. I brought you up with my own hands, Kirahara. That's something I want to be proud of during the inauguration ceremony.
Mari-san.
So, please, don't let a setback like this bring you down. That's my personal request.
Please don't say such gentle things to me. Otherwise, I'll fall to the point where I can't live without you. The more Mari-san protects me like this, the more the pain in my heart festers to unbearable levels.
Really, you don't cry in front of a woman while saying such cowardly lines. That's a trick only marriage cheaters tend to do, you know?
Even though it's so painful, even if I can't cushion it any longer, this pain that I'm feeling right now, it somehow feels like the stinging feeling one would get from applying medicine. To get even a sliver of hope from this is simply cowardly of me.
As for what happened today, just forget all of it, okay?
I cry miserably as I nod my head without stopping. Yet, the way I was then, I couldn't completely agree with everything Mari-san had said, because that was a moment of bliss I could never forget. Mari-san's scent, Mari-san's softness, Mari-san's warmth, Mari-san's pleasure. To even dare to think of it was a crime in itself, and yet I can't wipe it off my mind. January 7th, Friday. This feeling. It's as if I'm a princess or a protagonist from a sci-fi novel awakening from eternal sleep. My five senses have yet to regain their functionality. Sure, my limbs, ears, eyes, and mouth are still working fine, but they aren't working as well as I want them to. My vision is blurry. My ears are ringing like crazy. My voice is hoarse, and I can't even stretch out my hand from beneath this blanket. That, and my memory isn't so very clear. I look up to the ceiling, feeling a sense of familiarity, but I can't put my finger on where I've seen it before. The only thing that I'm sure about is this isn't my own room. Then, as my memory regains itself in an instant, my senses perk up with it. Immediately, I leap out of bed and survey my surroundings, pacing back and forth in the spacious room after that. As I raise the blinds, the gentle winter sunlight floods into the room, but it seems blinding to me, the way I am now. From there, I open the windows. The salubrious winter sky brings a chilly breeze, brushing against my skin that was wrapped in a bed until now. The sun has almost begun to sidle to the west. I would assume that it's already the end of lunch break. And this is Mari-san's room. After refreshing myself with the chill of the breeze, I look around the room again. It's all my recent memory had recorded. A living room that's too spacious for a person to be living alone, with the bare minimum of necessary furniture. The kitchen also looks as though it hadn't been used at all. Perhaps it's better to say that it's surely being used very sparingly, judging by how it's been kept. What's different from my memory, though, is the blanket casually thrown on the sofa, situated on the floor, and on the table, placed squarely in the middle of the room, I find a leaflet with words scribbled on its back with a thick marker pen.
I've left for work. Call me immediately when you wake up. I've already bought a new phone. It's the same number as before. Hello. Yes, this is Tezioka. Thank you for your cooperation. Yes, what about the interview schedule? Oh, today? And right now? I'll check my schedule immediately. Please hold on for a moment. Play along with me for a little while. Suzuki's beside me right now.
The 7th?
2 whole days. Counting until now, I'd say you've slept for about 40 hours. Did you keep your gray matter intact?
I'm extremely sorry. For me to have slept for that long?
Isn't that great? You woke up before your classes start.
Mari-san, who seemed to have found a good excuse to escape to the hallways, immediately changed her tone of voice entirely, and my presumptions had scattered along with it, and my presumptions had shattered along with it. This isn't the second day since that day, but the harsh reality of it being the third. Have I been sleeping on your bed the whole time by any chance?
It's fine. It's not like you grit your teeth or snore in your sleep, Kitahara.
That's not the problem here. I now understood the mystery of the blanket on the sofa. I now understood the mystery of the blanket by the sofa, as well as the fact that the troubles I've caused Mari-san have been piling up like interest to a loan shark since that day. I'm really sorry. Really. I really don't know how to compensate you for all this.
I'm already tired of those words.
Even so, I still can't forgive myself. I can't accept the fact that you're forgiving me either, Mari-san. You're still going on about that? I won't stop saying it. I'll keep bringing it up. After all, I did such terrible things to you.
Dummy.
As much as she calls me dummy, she doesn't seem to show any signs of ridiculing me with the word, as always. Instead, it brims with a mysterious, loving compassion, or perhaps kindness. Things that are indescribable by words alone. Mari-san's unique and relieving voice is filled with such things. You're the real dummy here, Mari-san.
What did you say? Hey, what are you implying, Kitahara?
That's why I can't accept that uplifting, nice form of reprimanding from her. If you keep going on like this, being depended on and taking care of anyone, you won't recover if you end up getting betrayed one day, you know? And you say you have a good eye for people? That's just being overconfident. You're making a fool out of yourself for trusting me.
Someone's grown a sharp tongue. Don't you think that's a gift your teacher has bestowed upon you?
I've never thought of it like that at all. I can't accept the abusive way Mari-san refuted that.
To begin with, there are two errors in what you just said. It's not like I'm being betrayed at all. And it's not like I treat just anyone like this.
Because I feel so unworthy. I can't help but succumb to the urge of crying in a seemingly casual conversation. It doesn't matter what you say. I'll keep apologizing to you. I'm really sorry. And I really appreciate what you've done as well. As much as Mari-san won't accept my apology. So easily, she at least accepts my desperate attempt to be grateful, bashfully. Her response pleases me, but it pains me more at the same time.
Hey, Kitahara, I'll come over to you now.
No, it's about time I headed home.
Is that so?
Even though we had the same conversation just 2 days ago, Mari-san's reaction is completely different from what it was back then. It seems that there are a lot of things that I need to digest. I'm sure that her reaction has changed with my own. Hearing my voice, my choice of words, they're all different from what they were before. And, of course, it's due to your efforts that I've finally been able to have some sleep. I'll work according to my capabilities from now on.
Rest up well. That includes the year-end and New Year holidays.
This was yet another worry, or rather, yet another debt that I had to pay off. After I get my feelings sorted out, I'll properly thank you later.
I look forward to it.
And when that happens, I'll settle what happened the day before yesterday.
How many times do I have to spell it out for you? There's no trouble going on between between us.
How many times do I have to say it before you can accept it? I can't feel at ease otherwise.
You really are a stubborn one, aren't you?
You can never yield what you feel you can never give up on. That's what my teacher at work and life taught me.
It's not like we have that much of an age difference. Don't be rude.
Well then, I'm hanging up.
Hey, can you wait for just a little longer? I'm actually coming home early today.
The way I am now, I don't feel as though I'm ready to face you. My apologies, but please spare me.
I see.
Bye, Mari-san. And again, thank you so much. Well now, as I ended the phone call, I indulge in the view of the sun's rays as they slide ever so slightly to the west from where they were before. From that cold yet radiant winter sky, I feel as though I've gained a tiny bit of newfound courage.
As I thought, he isn't here, huh? Even so, this doesn't look like my room anymore. He'd make a great house husband. Even the futons are dried, and he deodorized them. What's with him? Intentionally erasing all of his traces of staying here. Really, it's just so unnecessary.
January 12th, Wednesday.
Happy New Year! Well, I guess 10 days have already passed since the New Year. Sorry for the late New Year's greetings. Though, I wonder if I should be apologizing for attempting to check up on you so casually like this. If you see this text and find it ridiculous, then please just block my number. I'm well aware of how much I've worried you, at least. I'm well aware of how much I've wronged you, at least. But I somehow always end up thinking about you. So, after hesitating a lot about it, I decided to text you. How have you been? Did you come to university today? Have you been able to return to a proper early morning lifestyle? Though I guess I can't imagine you oversleeping, Haruki-kun. Or perhaps you've been unaffected by it all? Have you let it all go completely and started a new life? I'd feel relieved if that were true, but at the same time, I'd feel a bit down as well. Perhaps I'm contradicting myself? Well, I'll end it there. Final exams are coming soon. Let's both work hard, okay?
I don't even know how many dozens of times I've read this text already. It was Setsuna's first text since that day. Her first text after more than 2 weeks have passed. From the odd fact that she's had free time, the fact that she's being more polite than usual, along with the formality of her text title, I could tell that she was feeling the same sense of distance that I am. After we parted the way we did, it must have taken an extreme amount of courage for her to contact me of her own accord. Though I suppose Setsuna understands that as well. She knows that after we parted the way we did, neither of us would have had the strength to initiate contact of our own accord. Happy New Year. Thank you for your text. I'm not angry with you at all, and there's no reason for me to be. I guess I can only be mad about not being able to contact you myself. I've been going to university since yesterday. There's a lecture of which the paper submission date is fast approaching after all. As for how I'm faring, well, I can't say that I've completely gotten over it, but I've been living my day-to-day life properly. I've been going to my part-time jobs, studying for tests, and just living the ordinary university student life. It's not like I can advance in my life and studies if I don't continue on. Enough about me, though. How are things with you, Setsuna? You've only been worrying about me in your text and didn't write anything about yourself. It's actually making me quite worried about you. I'm glad that you've contacted me, but you should also write a few lines on what's happening in your life, you know? In the end, I forcibly leave my usual words of sermon before my thumb reaches for the send button. At least that's what I had hoped to do. But in the end, I pointed towards the backspace button instead and held it down for a long time. The many lines of words on the LCD screen get erased, turning my tens of seconds of hard work to naught. There's no reason for me to feel upset, though. After all, this is something that happened tens of times before already. I should head home. It's Wednesday, 2 days after the winter holidays had ended. The sky that should have adorned the campus today is dull and gray, as the cold air and the howling wind blend together, subjecting us to the harshness of the winter. I'm just kidding. The reason I held such resentment towards what was really the sky today was because of the confused feelings that I've been harboring since last night, the reality of which I'd been hoping for, yet unable to look directly in the eye. I guess contradictory is the only way I could describe it. Setsuna's text made me genuinely relieved. Even with its simplicity, she still maintains her usual gentleness and slightly forced forwardness. It's good that she's recovered. She hasn't written anything about it, though, and, well, I can't tell how she is now. At least she's back to her life in society as she used to. She's living a more proper life than I am. And because of that, I can't proudly face Setsuna the way I am now. There's no way I could go meet her. All because I've done something terrible. So terrible that anyone would harbor contempt for me if they knew. And also because that matter hadn't reached a conclusion yet. This is Kitahara. Matsuoka-san? Is Mari-san around? That's why it's about time I settled this. I need to be honest with Mari-san about everything. Is this Mari-san? It's me, Kitahara. I need to tell her what I've always wanted of her. I needed to tell her what I've always wanted her, of all people, to hear. More importantly, I need to tell her that I need her help. Yeah, I'm at the university now. I started attending classes yesterday. As much as I've cut our ties of my own accord, and as much as I don't have the right to ask for help because of that, I'd be content with her just hearing me out. Yes, I've been okay. I've been having enough sleep, 4 hours a day. I need to tell her about what happened 3 years ago, about Kazusa, me, a story about 3 people. That's normal for me. Oh, I guess things are much better with me compared to you, huh? About the 3 years that had passed since that day 3 years ago. About the 2 people who remembered. About the 2 people who remained since then. I'll cut to the chase. Can we meet up alone? About the events that happened prior to the Christmas party in the editing department. About that Christmas Eve. where I ended up hurting someone and getting hurt myself. The real reason I got hurt. The person who ended up really getting hurt by my actions. Mari-san? I need to tell Mari-san the reason why I did those terrible things to her that night. A reason worse than my very actions towards her. I'm sorry. I know it's an unreasonable request. For me to dare to ask such a selfish request after what I've done to you? Please forget about... I need to tell her that I've been feeling lonely because I've been incapable of connecting with Setsuna. And how this loneliness has been piling up like snow that fell on that day. And how they culminated into the astonishing truth of me ending up shoving such a muddy flow of dark feelings that had festered within me onto her, despite Mari-san having nothing to do with them. Is that okay with you? Really? Thank you so much. When I tell her all that I've wanted to say, I have no doubt that she'll be completely disappointed with me this time. Worse yet, she might even begin to despise me deep inside. Yeah, I'll suit your time and venue. I'm not taking any jobs this week. Even so, I have to talk to her. If I want forgiveness, I can't get it without being completely honest with her. It's because I want to be in the same workplace, to be accepted as a new employee a year from now. I understand. Well, I'll be waiting for your reply. I completely understand that this is perhaps the most selfish request ever. Even so, I want to return to those days. The days of having that relationship between a caring senior and an unreliable junior. Thank you. Well, I'll see you later. Mari-san is truly and irredeemably kind, as I thought. Facing my selfish request of wanting to meet up, I could have sworn that she was so scared that she couldn't respond. Yet, she accepted my request in the end. But I'm glad. From here, I just have to wait for Mari-san to tell me the date and time of our meeting. All that's left is for you to just wait a little while longer, Setsuna. After I make my decision, after I completely settle things here, I'll catch up with you again. And then I will tell you all that I've done. And if you can still look me in the eye after all that, I promise I'll face you again, Setsuna. Even though I know I'll never be forgiven by you. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Enthusiastic consent is important. Though Mari did consent, though she didn't make it clear until afterward. People should listen when someone withdraws consent, yet that's not what happened here. The scene was censored from the YouTube video, but she just asked him to pull out, more like she was swept away in the situation, and only really thought about birth control at the end. And pulling out is still not a great form of birth control, but it's better than nothing. That would have been a really odd conversation at the police station, though.